Hello, this is Maker J101, and today we're going to be doing some aluminum casting using the lost foam method as usual, just because it's the most, the fastest, and it just takes the least amount of work. That's why I do lost foam. I mean, I'm going to do green sand. I have the kitty litter available. I just have to get around to doing it. It's just that takes more work because I have to make a mold and everything, or a form, or whatever the part you want to make an imprint in the sand. So that takes a lot of work to make that. This, you basically just carve it out of styrofoam, bury it in sand, and pour your aluminum in. It's really easy. That's why I do it. So yes, I'm going to get around to doing lost wax and green sand casting eventually. I just haven't had the time lately with work and everything. But so I'm going to do more lost styrofoam method. So I'm just gonna use my hot wire foam cutter. That's what I cut my foam with, and a train transformer. You can use a little boost converter power supply like this to get. I think it takes like about 3 volts or something. I don't know, just to heat up the wire. So so this is my styrofoam. I'm gonna cut a block out of this because I want to make a machinist's cube because I now have access to a lathe. So I'm gonna try making a machinist's cube. So I'll make just a cube out of styrofoam, and I'll cast that. And then I'm also thinking to make a couple discs for flywheels that I can machine. So we'll see how that goes. Alright, well, here are the molds I'm going to do today. So we have 2 things that should turn out as flywheels, and I can turn those up on the lathe real nice if they turn out, and then this will be a machinist's cube, hopefully. So I don't know if I have enough. Actually, my crucible might not be big enough to make that. I don't know, I'll have to measure it and see. But alright, so this is some of the aluminum I'm going to be melting today. These are cast motor end housings, so they support the bearings and everything of the motors. So a couple of those in there, and then if I run out of that aluminum, then I can use these, or these other castings that I did that turned out poorly. So yeah, I'll talk about fluxes in a minute after I get this stuff melting. Alright, so we got a crucible full of cast metal. So now what we got to do is add some flux. And I'm still a noob at this, but I'm sure some of you guys are going to have different opinions. But this is what I read. So I read that the 2 things that work very well as fluxes are sodium chloride, or salt, normal table salt, and substitute salt, or no salt. And the main ingredient is potassium chloride. So potassium chloride and salt basically melt and cover the aluminum with a layer of this stuff, which basically stops hydrogen from moisture getting into the aluminum and causing porousness and stuff like that, and oxygen from getting in and turning it into oxide. So that's what these are supposed to do, and also make it more liquidy, I believe. But so I found that it seems like you use both of them together. So I'm going to use half and half, and I'm going to put it in now. So I don't know how much to add, just probably a small amount of each. I don't know, maybe a little bit. That's probably good. Just like a little dab. So put some of that in there, and then some table salt, if I can get this open. So who knows if this is going to work or not, or if I'm doing it totally wrong. But it seems odd that you'd add something corrosive like table salt, but it really is only corrosive if you have water present, but whatever. And then the other thing I read is that if you add, what is this, potassium nitrate, it will actually act as a, what's it called, it basically it is exothermic reaction when you add it, so it heats the metal up more, and also I guess makes the metal more liquidy, so it draws the, all the aluminum out of the dross. So hopefully, actually, I might be able to get some of this aluminum out of here, and it turns it into more like a powder, apparently. So we'll see how that works. I'm not sure yet. We'll find out, I guess. So we'll add some of that after it's all melted, and before we're going to cast it when we're taking the dross out. So let's see how that works. Now the waiting begins. Look at our electric meter. It's pulsing because my furnace is solid state, and so it has a solid state relay basically in it, and it turns off on and off to regulate the temperature. So the meter pulses every time it draws a lot of current when it turns on. Alright, so now to do the molds. So I'm going to be doing the lost fill method as I just made those molds. So one of these molds I'm going to do in dry sand, as I always have done in the past, and the other one I'm going to do in sand that's straight from the sandbox, so it's still moist. It's actually got some organic matter in there as well, but whatever. So this stuff is actually a bit more like green sand. It's kind of sticky, but it's still really weak, because it probably does have some clay in there, just some dirt and stuff from the sand or whatever. But, and it's quite moist. I don't know if it's too moist or not, but I guess we'll find out if we get like a steam explosion, which we probably won't. It won't really be an explosion, it'd be more like a volcano of molten aluminum, which still wouldn't be very nice, but it's not that moist. I think it should be fine. But, so we're going to bury one of them in here, and then the other one we're going to bury in normal dry sand. Alright, well I just scooped the first batch of dross off, and it worked great. So I put some of this stuff on, then put it back in, and when I pulled it out, there was like a layer on top of pretty efficiently extracted dross and aluminum oxide and junk. And I mean, it's pretty light, it doesn't have much aluminum in it. Now some of this splatter here, that's got some aluminum in it, but I couldn't really help that, so. But it's a lot more efficient than this stuff. This stuff does have some, well, I mean, this stuff's still pretty separated, but. So I'll show you guys that when I do the second batch, but for now it's just about up to temperature, so it should be ready to pour here. Yeah, it's glowing nice, so I think it's good and ready to pour. So let's pour this batch. I already pulled the dross off, so a second time, and let's pour it. Alright, well it's still smoking hot, but I'm going to pull it out. I think it definitely worked. I don't know how well, but we'll find out. Ouch, it's hot. Ooh. Not good stuff. Ooh, it's pretty good. Let's get some water and spray that on there. Get it cooled off a bit. Alright, time to clean the dross off the top. For the first time on this batch. Second batch. Boy, this poker stick really does work well for removing. Oh, look at that. The dross is right there on top. You can see it's kind of like a mountain there of dross. Oh yeah. Nice. It's just like a big glob. Barely any aluminum in there. Clean the sides a little bit. You don't want to stir it vigorously or else you'll get air into it. Alright, let's pour a little bit more of the different things in here. Some of the low salt, some normal salt. And we'll put in a little bit of the stump remover, the potassium nitrate, which melts pretty quick in there. And then we'll throw in some more pieces here. Throw that in, and let me go get a couple more pieces. That looks good. Oh, paint's burning off. Stanky paint. That in a couple of minutes while I get my second mold set up. I also have some other exciting news. I made green sand. So I just was digging around with the So I took that sand that I just cast the other stuff with, and I made green sand with it. So this is like dirt cheap. I mean, it's basically free. So this is sandbox sand, and then this clay is not bentonite clay, at least that I know of. It's clay that there was a bank along a creek by our house, and I basically dug some of the clay out of the creek, let it dry out, then smashed up the chunks and ran it through this sieve to get this nice powder. And I just mixed this with this. It was like orange clay, kind of orangish clay. And I don't even know what ratio. I just kept mixing it until it seemed about right. And I didn't even add any water to it, because the sand was already moist. But if you look at that, it actually keeps its shape. It's not perfect, but it's better than none. You can see that it breaks pretty cleanly. It's still very fragile. So I'm sure bentonite clay would be better, but this is certainly would work if you're very careful. So pretty cool. I mean, this took like no effort. I just mixed them together and it works to a certain extent. I mean, I could make something and then cast it, and I mean, it's not too bad, all things considered. So we'll cast the next thing with this stuff, or the next flywheel with this. So actually, I'm going to do the cube. Actually, I kind of want to do the cube, so I'm going to do that. Alright, so here's the casting. After a close inspection, it looks pretty good down here. It looks perfect. I couldn't ask for anything better. It's a little bit of bumpiness, but that's just because probably some of the sand particles didn't fill in or something like that. I'm guessing here probably some of the sand fell through once it dried out or once the styrofoam melted away. This here, though, is not satisfactory. That is my fault. I did not have a continuous pour. Maybe my sprue is too big, so it doesn't go down at a constant rate, but I was like filling it up a lot, and then all of a sudden it went down, and so I couldn't keep up with it, and I saw so that's how that wrinkle is all there. And my knife that I tried to cast had the same problem, so that's just because I didn't have a continuous pour. So I need to work on that, trying to pour more continuously. Maybe I should just like dump the whole crucible in. I'm not sure how I would do that, because it's not like a not like a sand casting where you have an empty cavity and you can just pour it in as fast as it goes in. This, it's sort of as fast as the styrofoam melts, which probably it melts at a certain rate here, and then once it gets down here, it would melt at a different rate. So I'm not sure on that, but it's decently heavy, and I'm sure I was hoping I made this so big here, the sprue, because I could chuck that into the lathe, and also that would be where I'd put my set screw to hold it on the shaft, because this is going to be a flywheel. At least that's what. But I think I could still probably manage without that or work around it. So, but it should still be fun to machine. All right, so now we're going to do the cube, which is going to be the machinist's cube, hopefully. It's not good when that happens. A little too much that time, I think. It's okay. Let's put a little bit of the stump remover in there. Stir that in. There's aluminum in my hole. That's one of the problems with this. If you fill it up too much, you get aluminum in the holes where the shaft needs to go to pick it up. Oh, just lost power. This furnace, it has a problem of leaking a little bit to ground. I think there's just some spilled aluminum in there somewhere from my first casting that I did. Alright, we're going to pour this one, even though it may not be hot enough, but so I think this one I'm going to pour it mostly pretty fast. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Not really enough aluminum, but hopefully it's enough. Crucible's pretty clean. Alright, time to see how well this one with the cheap green sand worked. The sand around the sprue here is kind of hardened, quite warm. So just dump it out, I guess. Yeah, stick it in there. That's good. Hey, look at that! Awesome! Ouch! Hot, 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 hot. Oh, nice! Ow! Really hot. Really hot, really hot, really hot. Hot things are hot. Nice! A cube. Look at that. I could totally machine that. That's gonna work real nice. It's still smoking hot. I think we should dunk it in some water or pour water on it. Actually, I'll just dunk it in the water. Channel locks can't quite grab it. Got a problem. Actually, no, we don't have a problem. There's always a solution. If I can get it back out, that is. Ouch, it's hot water. It's gonna get on my fan grip wet. There we go, saved my sand. Man, that's toasty. That's got a lot of stored heat. That's for sure. Get some more water to put on. Silence. Yeah, that thing was hot. I probably should wait a little longer. Nice. It's not perfect, but it'll work. I'll just let it sit in here overnight because I've got to go to work. Work at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. It's kind of late right now. I think it's almost 11. So yeah, it's like 5 hours of sleep or something.